Hi, everyone. There's so much for us to talk about. I'm just going to dive right in. Um, a lot of you, actually, pretty much everyone who's watching this, you're a creative. You create, you design, you illustrate. And you probably heard about Adobe updating their license, um, their license for your content or for using their software. Sorry, I'll start again. So there was a lot of uproar and a lot of talk on social media where everyone was like, wait a minute, I can't run my business with NDAs and use Adobe software. And so there was a lot of chatter going on, a lot of worrying going on because what was Adobe doing? So I'll read to you just a little bit, and then don't worry, this hopefully has a happy ending, at least for today. Though the questionable parts were 4.2, solely for the purposes of operating or improving the services and software, you grant us a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create derivative works based on publicly perform and translate the content. So, in other words, they're saying that they can reuse our artwork for nothing. Now, the one of the lines that was really important here, as pointed out by Scott Belsky, and I'll talk about him in a second, is that first line there, solely for the purposes of operating or improving the services and software. So luckily, Scott Belsky spoke up. He's the Behance founder. He works on strategy, design, product at Adobe. And this was his response. He quoted the solely for the purpose of operating. And his point was, for clarity, and I'm going to read verbatim what he wrote with a little edit, for clarity, any modern software company that has features like reproducing as thumbnails, enabling users to share for review and approval via web link, auto-generating variations, indexing for search, etc., requires a license to do so. Obviously, solely for the purpose should make it clear that nobody is claiming ownership of your work. So it was really nice to have a response so quickly from Adobe, because so many of us use their software and we didn't want to have to jump ship. But you can't really blame us for being a little jumpy these days with everything going on, with all the rights grabs going on. A lot of people just kind of thought that Adobe was jumping into the fray as well. And I'm about to talk about Meta, but uh, that's also very much on our minds when we saw this. So when that news came from, or when people started reporting on the changes to the user agreement, everyone was really, really, really worried. And I have my chat open if you want to chat at me and let me know what your thoughts were on that. Feel free on social medias. I can see most of your chats. Let's see what happens. So again, Adobe has clarified that they're not licensing your work for their use. It is solely for the purposes of operating or improving the services and software, not to train AI. But again, we're all just kind of on edge here. So, and I wonder, it kind of makes me wonder if it's just a coincidence that Kyle T. Webster, that's the artist who came on board a bunch of years ago and has been creating brushes for your favorite design programs for Adobe. He gave his resignation this week, and I wonder, did that have anything? Is there something else going on that we don't know about? I'm not trying to kind of be one of those newscasters, but that's just one of the things that kind of made my this eyebrow go up. That's the only eyebrow I can make go up. So if that goes up, it's just surprise. Anyway, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Ed Shems, or at EdFredNed, and I am the Guild's BFF, and I'm here in place of Yannick this month to talk about Guild stuff. And a lot of Guild stuff has to do with advocacy. And so these are the types of things that the advocacy committee keeps an eye on and works on throughout the years, many years. If you are familiar with the CASE Act, that was, oh my gosh, I don't remember how many years that was, but it took, I'm just going to throw out a number, I'm sure I'm wrong. It took 7 years for the CASE Act to get passed. And what did that mean? that meant that there's a small claims court now for artists. So we don't have to pay really expensive lawyers to take someone to court for infringement that is below, I think the threshold is like $3,000. Again, making up those numbers, but it's a low threshold. So therefore, if someone kind of uses our artwork and we want to take them to court, we don't have to spend all our money on court fees. We can go to the small claims court. And that's one of the things that the Guild had been working on for years and years. And finally, with the Guild and with all these other organizations, we finally got that passed. And I was looking at some old artwork I had that we used for social media, and it was a really busy time getting the word out and trying to dispel all those fake rumors about how the Case Act would be misused, or the small claims court. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining me. So I'm not sure what dummy means, but okay. So now the other thing that has been really very much on people's mind is Instagram and Facebook. In other words, Meta. I'm not sure if you've noticed, if you're on any, or actually Threads too, I guess. If you're on any of that social media, you're probably noticing the boycott Meta on Mondays. I think it's Meta Monday or something. But when I looked that up, there are too many links to it, so I'm not sure if that's what they're using. Are you guys aware of that? A lot of people are jumping over, leaving Instagram, especially because of all the ads and because of all the videos and the stress that it puts on us creators, we creators, to think that we have to just constantly be creating video now. Not only are we creating our work, but now we have to create videos around it, and that's kind of what Instagram has been turning into. It's been turning into a different TikTok, which is not what we want. It's too stressful. We have too much going on, right? Everyone, yes, you have too much going on. I'm happy to take some chats going on here. Something other than dummy. So where are people going instead? A lot of people are talking about Blue Sky and Kara. I think it's kara.app. So that's where a lot of people are going. I know that Kidlit Postcard, which is run by Gina Perry, has moved over mostly to, is it mostly or just partially on Blue Sky and partially on Kara? So give those a check out. I signed on to Blue Sky a little while ago, and I just signed on a few days ago to Kara. And I actually really like the interface because you don't just post something, you also give it some metadata, some tags within. So it's not like you just put up a picture and then you click go. So I kind of like that. I like that you're kind of categorizing your work right from the start. It's really interesting. It's in beta, so it's kind of iffy. I have no pony in that race, so I'm just telling you all about it. So let me know if you're into Blue Sky or Kara, or just find me. I'm at EdFredNed. I'm pretty much at EdFredNed everywhere except for TikTok. I'm at EdFredNed1. So let me tell you a little bit more about what Meta has said. And this is just some quick research I did. You know how like some of us are kind of busy with work, and we kind of segment and say, okay, I'm going to do all the research starting at this hour, and then that hour just kind of goes away. So I didn't have a chance to dig in as deeply as I wanted to. So here's some of the basic information from Meta. So starting on June 26th, Meta will reportedly update its privacy policy to allow its AI to be trained on your data. So we pretty much agreed from the start to let Facebook and then Instagram control our artwork with a sub-license. I don't know if you realize that when you just kind of scrolled and then clicked the user agreement, that you gave them permission to kind of use your artwork almost any way they want. I remember it being us all being up in arms that they could use our artwork for advertisements. I haven't really seen that, but then again, maybe I'm not that popular. So that's one thing that was kind of worrying us. But now, what's worrying us is the AI. And I'll get into that after I take a sip. And again, feel free to chat at me. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I think maybe Instagram. Are we on Instagram? let me know. Um, so let's see. They've been stripping out our metadata since the beginning, and that's something that the guild has been pushing back against for years, and we've gotten nowhere with it. So what are the possible repercussions of Meta using our data, our illustrations, photos, designs, faces, our kids' faces, if we do that, uh, to feed their AI engine? Well, you know what? There are too many to list, and I don't want to be like, the sky is falling. I almost said the fly is calling. Oh, that'd be really funny. Who wants to write a book? The fly is calling. Anyway, but some ways are that they can start creating stock images of photos. Well, that's pretty easy now. Of illustrations, that's going to be real easy real soon. So there are so many repercussions to them stealing our art, but importantly, Meta is going to be making a lot of money off the AI that they're building using our art for free. If that angers you, then do some reading and then do something about it. I'm telling you, don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. I'm a big proponent of don't just follow influencers, and which I am not. But do your own research and find out for yourself what's actually going on, and then you decide to what level you want to do something about it. Does that mean you're going to leave Instagram and Facebook and Threads? Does it mean you're going to join an advocacy committee like on the Graphic Artists Guild? We take members. We take committee members. That's it. You can join the committee, or are you just gonna? And this is fine because some of us have high stress levels. If you need to just kind of wait this one out and kind of see what's going to happen, I get it. But it's important for you to just be aware. So if I could suggest, do a little reading just so that you know what you're not ignoring. I don't, that sounds negative. But think about what's actually going on with your artwork and then consider, and by the way, like we've been talking about putting watermarks on your art so no one can steal it or so someone can find you and ask for permission. This goes way beyond it. Watermarks, digital gets stripped away. That's the metadata. And visual watermarks, they get integrated into the AI, and who knows? Maybe your signature will appear on someone else's or on some AI. Woohoo! Isn't that what we all want? Anyway, so I highly suggest you read up on it. Any questions? Anyone have a question? You know what? I'm going to put a QR code, I think, of the Guild's stance on AI. Let's see, where'd that go? Oh, I had it up. There it is, up at the top. You can click that anytime, and you can read up on it. There's just a really brief statement, and then if you want to dive in deeper, go for it. So I want to tell you all about how many of you are illustrators out there, because there's an amazing conference coming up, and I'm telling you about it not because I make any money off of it, because I don't, but because I've been to 2 or 3 icon illustration conferences, and they are for illustrators, and it happens every 2 years. And I know I went like this, but I should have only done this. 2 years, not 4. And I highly recommend it if you have a little bit of money to get to Minneapolis, Minnesota this year. And every 2 years, it's in a different place in the country, which is great because that way it's more reachable for some people who don't have the ability to travel very far. It's a little bit of money, but it is so amazing. I can't even begin to tell you how amazing it is to be around your peoples. And I talk to my kids all the time about find your peoples, find the people who build you up, find the people who are like you, find the people who appreciate you, find the people who understand you. That's what the Icon conference is all about. It's about finding your peoples, being with your peoples. So I highly recommend if you have a little bit of cashola that you are able to spend, I'm going to put it, I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I just put it in the, oh yeah, I went to it went to YouTube, and it went to Facebook, the link. But otherwise, it's the illustrationconference.org. Because when you type in icon conference, there are like a million icon conferences. Anyway, it's in July, and it's a 4-day conference. It starts the 10th and it ends on the 13th of July. The 10th would be a Wednesday, I think it is. And there are lots of classes Wednesday and Thursday, and then Thursday night is the main, when the main event starts. Yeah, the main event. And so if you can make it to Minneapolis, I highly recommend, because there are some amazing speakers that will be there, including a really good friend of mine, Rebecca Blake, who is the former advocacy chair for the Guild. The new advocacy chair is oh my gosh. I just lost her name, and I apologize because I don't know why that happened. Anyway, so we're gonna have a lot of wonderful speakers there, and I really highly recommend that you check it out, and you will meet so many fellow, what's the feminine of fellow? Fellow and non-fellow illustrators. And Delaney West is the current advocacy chair for the Guild. I'm so sorry, Delaney, she's awesome. And if you join up with the advocacy committee, she would be the person in charge, so you're in good hands. So if you can make it to Icon, I highly recommend it. Check it out online. If you're a member of the Guild, there's a discount code. Or if you order through the member portal on the Graphic Arts Guild's website. So I highly recommend you check it out. And let's see, maybe I can put up a link to the Guild's website. I can't find it. Okay. And that's kind of all the news I wanted to talk about today. But I'm also here to kind of remind you about the Guild's Pricing and Ethical Guidelines Handbook, because I try to tell everyone about it, because it's a really great handbook. It's a really great way to kind of get your foot in the door for running your business, or even being reminded of how to run your business. Because I know that when I first started, before I hooked up with the Guild, I was running my business like it was a hobby. So is anyone here like kind of in the same boat? I know I'm not getting too many chats, so maybe the chat thing isn't working so well. But I will be checking later on, mostly on LinkedIn, for any chats thrown at me. If anyone wants to talk about anything, I will check that. So if you want to chat after the fact, if you're watching this later, that's totally fine. So I keep mine. If anyone has watched me before talk, and especially talk about the Pricing and Ethical Guidelines Handbook, I keep it right here, right there. And do you know why? Because that's where my scanner is. And this book is awesome at weighing down a scanner and giving me a really good scan. So this is my, it's not quite dog-eared, it's my post-noted book. So this is the, what number is this? Number 16. I know that they're currently working on number 17. Number 17, they just finished the surveys in, I think, February. So I don't know yet when the new version, the new number 17 is going to be published, but this is still available and still has great information. And not only does it have great information about running your business, it also has, you know, licensing forms, contracts, model thingy, confirmations, model release, confirmations, all that kind of stuff. So really, really helpful book. I know you're all seeing this. I think you're all seeing this backwards. I know I am. Someday I'll get a backwards copy, and that would be like so cool. And everyone would be like, "Whoa, why can I read that?" And I'll be like, "Hey, it's because I planned ahead." And until that happens, you can know that I didn't plan ahead. So that is the Pricing and Ethical Guidelines Handbook. There are sections for graphic designers, for illustrators, for cartoonists, for web designers. So all different topics. Great book, great handbook. If you're going to be at Icon, I'll be there, by the way. And I'll be there with James Stowe. And my good friend Stephanie Osser will be there as well. She's a wonderful illustrator, and James Stowe and I will be kind of hanging out at the guild's table, and we'll have these. I think we're going to give them away. I hope I will. That we will. These are hands off my copyright. I created these 4 years ago after Icon in Detroit. Actually, during Icon in Detroit, I started the drawing um, with Hayden Adams, who is the former guild president. Did I get his last name right? I don't know what's going on with me today and names. Whew. So I designed this while we were sitting there watching some speakers, and he kind of art directed me. He's a graphic designer and web designer, and then I finished it, and then I gave it to the guild for them to give away or to sell, and I think you can buy them for like $1 on the guild's website. So I think we'll be giving those away at Icon. So find our table when you're there, or reach out ahead of time. Let me know if you're going to be at Icon, because I'm really excited. I know that when I was there 4 years ago. I couldn't make it to the one 2 years ago. 4 years ago, there were so many names that I knew, so many people who I had only seen online, and it was just amazing to meet them in person. So whether you're an illustrator or not, I highly recommend that we all start getting back out there and go to conferences, and also that we kind of find people online whose work we like and maybe even work ethic we like, and follow them, so that when you do eventually meet them, you know a little bit more about them and you guys can have a conversation. Again, the guild, as a guild member and as a speaker, I always purport that, oh wait, am I using that word right? I always push the idea that it's all about community. And you build your community by going to events, by going to even online events, and just becoming familiar with people and just being a friendly face. I hope you'll be friendly. And so there are lots of guild events that you can go to. Oh, I think I have a link for something like that. There are a lot of guild events you can go to, and that's a guild calendar link right there. And you can go to those and just become familiar, but not just the guild. I'm suggesting you go to other events as well, and you become familiar with people, and also through social media, and you get to know how they think, how they work. And sometimes, we like to give some extra information in our social media, like our thoughts on, for example, on Meta and Facebook taking our work to fire up their AI. You can see what we all think about things like that. I still remember at Icon 4 years ago in Detroit, I remember seeing Kyle T. Webster. That's the guy I talked about earlier, who just left Adobe, but makes amazing brushes. And I remember watching him. He was in the main room, and someone had asked him a question, and he sat down with that person, and they got on the laptop, and he was showing him what the how to find X. I don't know what the guy asked him, but how to find X, or on the within one of the Adobe programs. And it was so cool that this guy was able to just kind of hang out with Kyle T. Webster, and Kyle is a really good guy and was willing to just sit there and kind of walk him through. I actually got a photo from the back of them of that, and I think I posted it right after, and Kyle said it was okay. So again, I want to remind you all, get out there, meet people, talk to people, join up with organizations, not just the guild. I realize that there are not so many, but there are other organizations that do great work as well. Whatever you're comfortable doing, join. I know you don't have to. I know like a lot of this work will get done without you there, but it's important to have members. It's important to pay dues and to help your industry, especially now, especially with so much going on with AI and all our work being, possibly being stolen. Now, I know I've been talking about AI like it's the worst thing in the world. There are pluses to AI. I'm not particularly the one who's going to get into that, because I like to create my own work, but there are pluses to it that you can figure out. That I don't like to think that everything is completely evil. There's always a light side to things. So there are possible ways. There are ways that that AI is actually good, and it just kind of springs to mind some of those social media posts where it was I want AI to do my laundry and cook for me, not create artwork for me. And so hopefully AI will get to that point instead of creating artwork. Um, so I'm coming to a close here. I think I've talked enough. I've told you enough. I'm going to just do a really quick recap, just in case you came in late. Really quick recap. We talked about Adobe's new end user license agreements. Do people say EULA? And how they updated it recently. And there was an uproar because people were concerned that Adobe was planning on using our work. And Scott Belsky, again, the Behance co-founder and a strategy design product designer at Adobe, jumped in and said, no, 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 we need this kind of licensing in order for us to be allowed to share your work only for, I'm going to read it, reproducing things as thumbnails, enabling users to share for review and approval via a web link, auto-generating variations, indexing for search, etc. All of that requires a license, and that's why they updated it. So that's the latest update on Adobe's EULA. But look into it yourself, or just keep an eye out for it. And then one of the other things I talked about was how a lot of people are jumping ship from Instagram. I think a lot of people have already jumped ship from Facebook, and I imagine, I haven't heard anything about Threadless, like people saying, oh, and Threadless too, but that falls under Meta as well. Jumping ship and going off to like Blue Sky, Kara. I'm forgetting something else. There's another recent one. Feel free to chat it to me. I can't remember right at the moment, because Meta is planning on updating the user agreement to allow it to take our artwork and use it to train their AI. It's absolutely abhorrent. So that's one of the other things I talked about earlier. Just rewind if you need to. And then, and I talked about some of the repercussions of that and how Meta gets to do this just by changing some wording in their user agreement. And they are set to make so much money from training off of our work. So do your own research, please. And then the other thing I talked about was Icon, the illustration conference that's in Minneapolis. They're really great people. Again, I'm just a fan. I'm not on the board or anything. If you're an illustrator, check it out. It's awesome. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I want to thank Yannick for inviting me to take over this Guild Goes Live. And I hope that you learned something. I hope that you thought about something that you didn't know about before. And I'm open to conversations through social media. If you want to, if you have any thoughts, I'll be checking out the chat at the end, and I'll be checking it out over the next few days to see what comments I'm getting on some of the things I'm saying. So thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Welcome to June. It's summertime. Bye-bye.